Hi everyone. It's my first time live streaming, so let's see how this one goes. And hopefully, people will start coming through. There's still 1 minute left. So let's see. Hello. Welcome. I'm going to start knitting as well. And you're welcome to type anything you want in the chat and just get to know me, and I'll get to know you. And if you have any questions, definitely let me know as well. I am currently knitting a duck, a yellow duck that holds a lot of candies and stuff. I saw this particular duck on on the internet at one point. I think it was a Pinterest, and I found it interesting. So I want to see if I could duplicate it, and it'd be great for Easter. So something I'm starting off, but unlike many people, well, most people, I'm sure there's like more than one project that people are doing at the same time. I have about 6 or 7 projects that I do at the same time. So this is just one that I came up with. But then I also have a hat that I'm knitting. I also have a sweater and everything. And then ideas for the different post or videos that I want to create for you guys. But if you guys have any questions, definitely reach out to me, post them, and we'll go from there. Please also let me know if you don't hear me well. Our first live session, I think, will be about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how many people show up and how things go. But after that, we could do it regularly. And then next, I'm going to try aiming to do it every month. And next month, then we'll pick one particular topic and base it off of that. And it'll be great. So that way we can get to know a little more about knitting, a little more about different projects and different issues that you may encounter working on a particular project. Like, for example, if you're working on a sweater, what type of issues you may face. And even if you're working on a scarf, because depending on the length of the scarf, who you're making for, sometimes they're long, sometimes they're short, wide, the width of it. So then that has a lot of things that happen to it as well. And you might end up having a lot of questions for that. Now, if you're having any issues with the live chat or with this live session, getting into it and stuff like that, please let me know as well. And we could go from there. But you can definitely type and let me know who you are and where you're knitting from. I myself am located in Connecticut, USA. So I have about 30 stitches that I have casted on. I think I'm going to cast on another 10, maybe another 5, and then from there see how this works out. But definitely join me on this live session to see how this works out. Now, if you notice, the way that I cast on is usually the net method. For me, that feels more comfortable because then I find that my stitches are tight between each other, and there's not as much loose yarn between them. But there's so many different methods of casting on. 4 that I'm aware of. So one of them is this. The other one is using the long tail method. The third method is just using your finger and casting on. And then the fourth method is using a crochet hook. So there are various different ways of casting on. This is the one that I usually prefer. So for this particular duck that I'm making, I'm going to just use the knit pattern. I'm just going to knit both front and back and just stick to that because I want to see how this turns out. And then maybe I'll try different patterns to see, like a stockinette pattern, or, well, maybe not the stockinette pattern because it kind of like blends in a bit too much. Maybe I'll try like the rib pattern, or maybe even add a cable on its body. So let's see what happens. Now, if it's your first time knitting and stuff, sometimes what makes you feel like a bit like, should I knit, should I not knit, is if when you make so many mistakes. The thing with knitting is keep going with it. And because it's repetitive, the practice helps you get better. And even the first project's not going to be perfect. My first project had holes in it, had extra stitches in certain areas, and some in certain areas the pattern went a little became a little chaotic, let's say. But after that, I got a handle on it, and slowly I got better. Now, you will also find that your knitting is not consistent. And on one line, it might be too tight. On another line, it might be very easy. It might be very loose. So what you end up doing is by practicing, you get comfortable, which way is best. And then with practice, the consistency comes in. It might take a few weeks, it might take a few months, but consistency comes through just regular practicing, knitting. So if you keep doing this regularly, it will get better. I definitely would love to know a little more about what type of videos you'd like to see. I'm currently reading up a lot on charities and how you could go from knitting for yourself and feeling comfortable with knitting and getting really good at it, to knitting within your community, then to knitting within the world. and the ideas that I found and everything is absolutely amazing. So that is something definitely I'm going to be creating a video on very most likely tonight or tomorrow, because I think that that is just absolutely amazing. The amount of things you could do with a talent that you have, and how you could help your community, how you could help the world, and even how it makes you feel is just absolute blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. Because for me, knitting is meditative. Knitting is a way to give me good vibes, positive vibes. And then when I think more positively as I'm knitting, it goes all around, because one positive thought brings about another positive thought and so forth. So for me, that helps. And then if I know that there's ways that I could help within the community, and then even within the world, like if figure out what you really are passionate about, what particular topic you're really passionate about, if it's homelessness, if it's domestic abuse, if it's education, child education, women's rights, politics, religion, anything. Figure out what you're passionate about, what you want to fight for, and then use your creativity to figure out how you could bring in knitting and help out that way. It's absolutely amazing. The amount of ideas that are out there and what things you can do is just amazing. I will definitely create a video about that. But that is fun to learn and fun to understand. Now, because this is my first live session as well, if you feel that there are ways that I could improve it, or you wanted to see something different, I am open to your feedback, and I will take that into consideration for my next session and try to fix that. So definitely please share your thoughts, and I will improve for next time, because I want this channel not just for myself, but in a way to connect with you guys. And it's a two-way street. So basically, I am also learning from you, because many of you are great knitters and have learned some tips and tricks from your families, like who you've learned it from. So it's a sharing both ways. It goes both ways. So I definitely read all your comments and take those into consideration for sure. Now, if you also notice, I'm using metal needles rather than the plastic ones or the bamboo ones. My favorite are metal or plastic, not necessarily bamboo, because I've tried a few times using bamboo needles, and the bamboo needle itself starts chipping at the tip. So here it would start chipping, and that causes issues for me later, because then I'm not able to use it because the yarn snags on it. So I am not really liking bamboo or wood needles as much because of the chipping. Now, with the metal needles, you have to get comfortable with them because they're very smooth. So they tend to slide. So, excuse me. If you're gonna use like a very, I guess, a pattern that requires you to really kind of like take off the yarn or in a certain way, then you just want to make sure that the sliding is minimum. So it might take you a few tries before you do that. And if you've noticed from some of the videos, I've had that issue. So you just have to be careful with that. The plastic works well because it's not as smooth as the metal is. It still works because it's not as harsh or as rough as the wood would become. So it's like someplace in between. So I go between metal and plastic most times. So definitely try. Let me know your comments on that as well. Which type of needles you prefer? My next session, I know that there are some people preferred this time, but others preferred another time. So the next session, I'll try the other time as well to see if that is more doable for you guys. But it's the first time, so there will be some back and forth before we get a good handle on this. And I want this to be as useful to you guys as for me. So I want this to be very useful for you guys and a way to learn a little more about knitting and what's out there. So would love to hear your feedback on the type of topics you want in the live sessions and the type and which directions you want the Q&A to happen, because this is a perfect opportunity to ask questions. And if I don't have the answer, I will definitely find it for you and respond back. So that's a definite. So for this session, I'm going to make it 30 minutes. So 14 more minutes to go for this. And the next session, depending on how things go, I'm going to pick a theme and then we'll go based off of that and see how it is. But in terms of me, there's in the About page within my channel, it tells you a little bit about my background, but I basically learned knitting from my grandmother. She was a professional knitter. So she used to knit sweaters for a manufacturer, and then they would sell it off to various different stores. And she would basically follow a particular pattern that the manufacturer would have given her, and then she would follow it through. And she got paid by the number of sweaters she's created. But then, because like in some of the sweaters, I remember there's kind of like a little doggy written, or some of that words written. So the way that you bring in the different colors and to make sure that the back is as smooth as the front, that was fun to learn and fun to understand from her as well, and how she's able to do that. So I used to watch her a lot, and then one day she just decided to give me a set of needles and a ball of yarn and started teaching me. So I got big into that. And then over the years, I perfected my knitting, or at least got better at it through reading a lot of books, reading a lot of patterns, as well as YouTube. So YouTube became a good friend of mine for that too. And then I started the YouTube channel because the craze was there several years ago. So I actually started it in 2017, but it was ad hoc. So I would sometimes post it, sometimes wouldn't post it. So I wasn't really into it as much. But then about 4 years ago, I really got into it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this my thing. So I try to post as regularly as possible, try to look for different patterns and stuff like that, because this also became a source of meditation for me. And I realized that whenever I'm thinking of new ideas or thinking of how knitting can become bigger, or how I could make it bigger in my life, or how I can get more involved in it, it actually excites me. It makes me want to do more. And therefore, I decided, okay, let's see how this can be big. So that's why I love bringing out new projects, bringing out new patterns, and even trying to see, it's not just about projects and patterns, but it's about how knitting can make a difference to you as individually, but also to the community, and how you could encompass everything together. So I'm trying to, and then celebrations like when you're having a Halloween celebration or a Christmas or an Easter. Yeah, you could buy things from the store to decorate your house, but you could also involve your kids and make some knitting, do some small knitting projects over a weekend, and that's a great way of connecting with your kids and getting the family involved. And giving knitted items as gifts during Thanksgiving or during Christmas or even on a birthday is very well appreciated for sure. So that to me is definitely exciting, and I love coming up with ideas to figure out how to do that. So this being one of them, I'm trying to figure out how to make a ducky that will hold candy. So it'll be perfect for Easter. So I'm trying to figure this one out now. So I know Easter is a little far away. It's only July, but if you've noticed in the stores, they have Halloween stuff. It's July and they have Halloween stuff, but that's the way things are now. But it's fun because at least I'll know ahead of time, and then I have to come up with something for Halloween and something for Christmas and something for back to school. So That itself is fun. And I know hats are a big thing that people make and people love to make. So I'm coming up with different hats because the normal hat is just basically kind of like a rib hat with that comes on top. Like the rib portion would be the border. Because if you've learned that stockinette hats basic, if you do the stockinette pattern, it basically folds naturally. So you could do it that way. You could do all stockinette and have it folding naturally, and that would be your border. Or you could do a rib border and then do the stockinette, or do a different design. But I also want to see what other types of hats you could have. You could have hats that have like little ears on the side. You could create hats that have a hole that can hold a ponytail. So that's the next one that I'm going to post as well. Or you could create a hat that looks like a long tail, kind of like for Christmas, with the long tail that looks like a candy cane. Or hats that have a little excuse me, that have a little design on it. So you could have a hat that would look like bunnies, like, or a cat. So bunny ears or cat ears with little mustache, or a little kind of like bunny nose or something like that. So different styles and different fun ways of creating something, and hats that have unique designs on it. So those are fun. And I know hats are something big. Gloves and mittens are something big. I usually love making mittens that are fingerless, simply because, one, if you want a quick project, those are easy to do, because with fingers you have to use the double pointed needles, and it becomes really long because you have to then knit those each individually and stuff. I will put one up for that so you understand the process itself, but I usually prefer fingerless ones. But then you have a little kind of like a flap that goes over your fingers. So if you're working on something, you could take the flap off, work on something, and then put the flap on to stay warm if you go out and everything. So those are fun to do. I know I haven't put that one scarves in, because with scarves, it's basically repetition of the same thing over and over again. But and then the length. But the part that's fun with scarves, if you're doing a spring scarf, then you want to use more of a fine yarn. So it'd be yarn that is weight of 3 or 2. But if you're doing normal scarves, like winter scarves, then you would want weight of 4. But you could use weight of 5. But then you would have to ensure that you use thicker needles as well to balance that out. And then blankets is another big thing. Those are bigger projects that take a little longer. But if you're like in front of a television, or if you're taking care of kids and you want that, so you want to make sure that you're able to just knit and have fun. Hi, Susan. Welcome. So I'm just chatting away and just talking about the different projects that are out there and why knitting is fun. And I've talking about the charities as well as the different projects that we could do. So I was thinking, like, hats are something big that people like, as well as mittens. And then there's scarves. But why don't you tell me what kind of projects you are working on and what do you like doing? And that'd be great. Right now, what you see here, I'm trying to knit a duck that will hold candy. So that'd be great for Easter. I know Easter is far away, but it's something I just want to get a handle of so that I'd be able to create a video and share it with you guys as well. And it'll be fun. But this is a great way of getting to know each other. And I know it's the first session, so I'm planning on doing this on a monthly basis. And definitely let me know what time works for you guys, and then I could accommodate accordingly. But I want to do themed sessions as well. So maybe one day we'll be making a particular project for a particular celebration. You're making a top-down raglan sweater. That's awesome. Those are fun to do, and especially top down. When I usually knit, I usually knit bottom to top. So because that for infants, what I could do is make the one wall thing. So it's like one wall thing coming up. Now I know for adults you have to do the back separate and then the side separate if you're doing it that way. and then the arm separate. So it depends on that. But those are fun to do. So I'm hoping it's turning out really well. But yeah, I don't know about you, but what happens sometimes is like when you start on one project and you're like halfway done with something like that, you come up with another idea, and then you start on that one, and then you see something when you're out shopping, and then you realize, oh, I could do this, and then you start doing that. So I currently have about 5 or 6 projects going on at the same time, which is really crazy sometimes because you're like, okay, when am I going to get this done with? But eventually they do finish off, but it's hard. But I've also found that if I'm shopping around and let's say I need a sweater or I need a hat, I'm like, I could make this. So you like looking at it, you're like, okay, this is a cable design, or this is just a stockinette design, and I could easily make it. And then you don't really want to buy it. So then you don't really want to buy it, and then it's like, ugh. But then you never end up finishing it. So that's the one drawback on that. That is good. It's the second one, so that is awesome. And shawls. That's one thing I really need to get into. Making a lot of shawls. I have made one shawl, like a spring shawl, but I also want to make some winter shawls as well. Because with spring shawls, what I end up doing is making a lot of like lace designs and stuff like that, which makes it really fun. And then you get to learn the different types of yarn that you use for shawls, and then try different patterns. But that's awesome that you're actually working on a second one. Is it a gift for someone, or is it just something for fun, or something for you? I know what I've started now is started making some hats and mittens for friends, because I'm thinking like for Thanksgiving, that's something that I would give to everyone as a gift, as a friendsgiving type thing. So that's something that I'm thinking of doing as well. And I've started that for a few of my friends then, but it's going to be a long process. So starting now so that I'll be ready for November for sure on that one. But it's fun. Hi, Laverne. You're from Florida. Is it really hot in Florida right now? Because it's hot here. I'm in Connecticut, and it is quite hot here. Socks are good too. She might. If your daughter doesn't claim it like the product one, like the first one. I find it hard. So I usually try to make hats for family members, and some of them don't really want to wear a woolen hat and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, so and you like making it and thinking that they would, but then they don't. But I know my grandmother used to make a lot of sweaters and stuff for us, and we would actually end up wearing it. So both of you are from Florida. Wow, I'm from Connecticut. So it is right now. It did hit 100 at one point, but right now it's about 86 degrees Fahrenheit here. So it is quite hot. So it's perfect to stay inside in the AC or fan and knit. Yeah, 92. Yeah, so roughly about the same, which is crazy with the humidity. It's like every winter you want summer to come soon, but then once summer hits, you're like, okay, I think I need winter to show up again, or at least fall or spring. Now, Laverne, what are you making? What are you knitting right now? I'm currently knitting a duck. So if you notice, it's just flat right now because eventually what I'm going to end up doing is folding it, and then just sewing one portion of it, and then the middle portion will hold the candy and stuff like that. Knitting a hat, those are fun. I actually like knitting hats and mittens a lot. I also am fond of scarves simply because that's a good way for me to learn different patterns. So what I do with scarves is figure out what kind of patterns I want to practice on them and see how that works. Ribbed patterns are good. Ribbed hat is good because then you know that it's going to stay, and it's going to stay tight as well. So it's not going to loosen that easily. So that's a good one. and they look really good once worn. That's for sure. So they come out really good. Now, are you using circular needles or are you using straight needles? I don't know if many people are comfortable with circular needles. To me, the starting point, the starting off with the circular needles is hard because you're when you're knitting, when you're starting, then it's the stitches are still very tight and close by. As you can tell, as you start knitting, they become a little more looser, and you could stretch it out a little better. So with the circular, you first have to like properly get it, and you also want to make sure that it doesn't rotate and stuff like that. But once you get to a certain point, then it becomes a lot easier to continue onwards. So it just depends on your comfort level, but at the same time, the more you practice, the better it gets with that, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, circular needles, it's hard. I'm currently making gloves. So that's the next video that I'm going to be posting. It's the fingerless gloves that I'm currently making, and I'm using double net needles. So double-sided needles, and sometimes it is so uncomfortable because you're so used to doing straight needles that with double you have to remember, okay, you have to go this way, and then you have to remember where your starting point is, so that way then you can start the next line at that point. So I usually use a little place marker just there. So it's usually kind of like a safety pin. I put that there, and I continue moving it up as I go up. So that way then I remember that that's where I have to start the next row. But yeah, sometimes using straight it just makes it so much easier, and then you could just sew it together, and life is so much easier that way. But yeah, I do understand. Hopefully both of your projects are close to completion, and then you'll start a new project. I don't know if you have more than one project going on at the same time as well. As I was mentioning, I have about 5 to 6 projects that I'm doing at the same time right now. And it can be overwhelming sometimes because then you're like, okay, am I ever going to finish these? But then new projects start popping up and everything like that. And it's fun at the same. It's fun too. I enjoy it. So as long as you enjoy knitting and you're doing it, you're never gonna be out of ideas on knitting, for sure. Now, do you two have any questions for me about anything? I know this is our first session, and I'm just trying to get a feel for it. So the next session, I'm going to make it more theme-based and more Q&A and everything. So just to get a feel, and just so that everyone understands how this is going to be. But any ideas from you guys is great feedback, positive or negative, because I want this to be all about you guys as well. And it's, as I was saying before, it's like I'm learning from you guys as well, because all of you are so good at knitting. And for me, this is just one way of getting to know the community out there and getting a feel for it. Now, I know that this is something I've read, and I know things are changing nowadays, but what I find is that people have this mindset that knitting is usually associated with people who are more domesticized or who are more old, like grandmothers and stuff like, and that kind of an idea basis, which I find is not quite right, not quite correct, because knitting, it's just like any other hobby that's out there. Okay, it's more sitting down and working on it, but you have to come up with new ideas. There's so much out there that you could do with knitting. It's not just it started, I think, this kind of idea, this type of idea started in the 70s when women were fighting for their rights to be able to work and everything. So then they started getting away from domestic stuff, and they didn't want to do knitting again because of that. And in early 2000, things started changing, where knitting became more in fashion again. And I think things are slowly changing as people and new generations are seeing that there are so many other things that you could do with knitting. For sure. So now, okay, so I made a mistake and knitted on row incorrectly, but didn't catch it until 2 rows later, and I didn't know how to correct it. Okay, so usually if that happens, I usually have to go back and undo it, especially if you've gotten a certain pattern and you want to stick to that pattern. Now, another way to fix that is if you feel that you could add in maybe another row similar to that, the incorrect part, so that it becomes a design. So there's two ways of doing that. So one way is just because you've already knitted it a certain way, then you just have to undo that those two rows and fix that. Or second thing is just basically see how you could incorporate that mistake into the design itself. Or third is just accepting it, that that's happened. And then in this grand scheme of things, especially if you're making a hat, like one little small thing or something like that, not many will notice, but whatever you feel comfortable doing is what you have to decide. So when you end up knitting something wrong like that, those are the three basic options to go about. Socks are actually easier top down. The reason why they're easier top down is because you have the wool thing coming down like that, and then the heel part is where you have to add a few number of stitches and then finish it off that way. And it's easier to put the other stitches on a stitch holder and make it. So adding the stitches that way is a lot easier to do that, because when you're starting from bottom up, you still don't have a pretty good idea of how long or anything it's going to be. So I find it easier to go top down. Exactly, or pattern itself. So you also don't know the pattern that you're going to choose from that way. Exactly. So that's that. So going to top down is better with socks for sure. So now, how long have you guys been knitting? Now, I've been knitting since I was 15 years old. So it's been quite a while. And I try to knit as much as possible because it's something, it's kind of like a hobby, and it's something that interests me, and I don't want to lose it, and nor do I want to forget it. And it's a way to stay connected to family. And it's something also that what excites me about it is to become perfect. Well, I don't think there's any hobby or anything that you could become perfect at. I don't really believe in perfection in that respect, but I believe that as you keep doing it more, you start understanding more about the different abbreviations, but at the same time, you also start understanding what more you could do with knitting. So that part definitely excites me. So I do this and I continue doing this simply because it keeps me excited, and it's something that brings happiness to me. So I've been doing this for quite some time now, and I plan to keep doing this till I hit my 80s, 90s, as long as my fingers allow it. Obviously, my body allows it, but I definitely want to continue this as long as I am able to, because it's something that brings me joy, for sure. Now I'm welcome. Yes, yeah. So that's the best part. Like I agree. Like when you're retired, and even I think of like when I'm going to be retired and how I want to get into something, and I'm thinking like I don't want to be that individual who doesn't know what to do with their time, or I know. Okay, so I have an uncle who's always playing Candy Crush, I think it's called, on Facebook. He's retired and he's been playing that, and he's at a certain level. I'm like, oh my gosh, because when I started playing it, I saw how hooked I was, so I stopped and everything. But he's retired, so he doesn't know what else to do with his time, and I don't want to be that. So getting into a hobby and sticking to it is definitely a great idea. And the stuff you could make for family members, for friends within the community, it'd be absolutely amazing, for sure. So that is wonderful, Terry Lover, that you're doing this. You've been doing this for so long and are continuing more now. That is great. Something that I strive for myself to continue on. Definitely. As you can see, my knitting, it's basically just both sides knitted. I'm not using a particular pattern, any other specific pattern for this one because I want to see how this turns out and if it turns out right. And then I'm thinking that for duck, a stocking, because with the knitted pattern, what it's going to help is it's a lot more coarser. So then when I want to stand the duck up, it can stand up. So then I don't have to worry about it tilting and everything because I'm going to be putting candy in there. So I need it to stay standing. Wow, Susan. That is awesome. Crochet is something I never really got into too much. I did learn some of the basics for that, but the fact that you learned it at age 6, oh, that is absolutely awesome. And one thing I know, when you learn something at a young age, you usually pick it up quite easily later on. So you're definitely going to the fact that you are making the second sweater itself at the same time, so you've definitely picked it up again, and it's fun for sure. No, I actually do cross stitching. That's the other thing that I do for fun. So I do cross stitching, one thing, and I have a few things that I've put around my home that I've cross stitched throughout my life. But cross stitching and knitting are the two things that I really got into in terms of crafts. So for me, those are fun. So cross stitching for me is off and on more than anything else because I find that that also takes a lot of time and getting comfortable with it and then changing colors and everything as you're moving forward with it. So I have about actually three cross stitch projects that I had started that I'm not even close to finishing off. So we'll see how that goes and when I'm going to finish off those ones as well. But this is fun. But this is something I'm going to continue on. So hopefully you both continue this for many years to come. Now, I did plan to have this session for about an hour, so 20 more minutes or so. But you guys let me know if you want to do it longer or if you want to, how you want to do it. And please also let me know if you want to have more Q&A type sessions or more just ad hoc like what we're having right now, or if you want to have more themed base. Now, for me, I was thinking this to be more like, you know how you have those knitting groups where you get together at a particular location and just knit kind of thing. Now, I wanted this to be kind of like a knitting group where we're all sitting and just knitting away and chatting away, and because this is my first time doing a live chat, so I'm trying to figure out how this would actually work and if that would make sense. So I'm open to ideas, and it'd be great to learn from you guys as well. And please do share your projects through pictures if you can. I would love to see how they turned out because that'd be amazing. And I'll definitely show you how my duck comes out and what mistakes I made along the way for sure. Thank you, Laverne. I'm trying to improve as I go along because for me, like, I don't know. Okay, so I'm there's Gen X, there's millennials and everything. So I'm a Gen X person. And so for me, learning YouTube and something was more later on in life. And trying to figure out everything that I have to learn to get it to work is quite an interesting challenge. But the kids these days, even like 5-year-olds, the fact that they pick up technology this quickly and are able to tell you what to do and how to do it, it totally amazes me. So that part definitely boggles my mind. But this is definitely something fun and a great way to meet so many wonderful people and wonderful knitters, and a great way to learn from each other. I love that idea of making it more globalized, so that way then the community is like the whole world, and trying to get to know what everyone is doing and learning new things. One thing I find with knitting is the fact that like the European knitting methodologies, the Indian methodology, American methodology are so unique in their own way. So there's some similarities, but there's some differences as well. So I'm trying to understand that right now as well, to see what the differences are. A lot of the times with the European, it's more some of the technique, but with Indian culture, it's more about the type of design that they use. With Indian culture, they use more of like embroidery type design or flowery type design, and more of the ancient culture designs in it. While with American, it's more modern, more fun type designs that I found. So, and with European, it's more like the Renaissance era type designs. So I find that quite interesting how culture and society and the type of things that you've experienced in society has an impact in the type of designs that become more popular in that region, in that country. So that learning that is definitely exciting as well. So what I found is like it's not just projects and patterns that is fun when you're learning about knitting. It's also learning about the history and why it became fun. Oh, that is awesome! Emotional support chicken. That would be really great to make for sure. One thing that I was reading about knitting is how it can be used to connect through the different emotions. So if you're angry and you wanna express that anger, rather than going out and beating up someone or something like that, use knitting and use certain colors. So a lot of the times people used a lot of red and a lot of black to express their hate, their anger that they were feeling. And then people who had just lost a loved one, what they did was created bereavement. What was it? Bereavement blankets. So what they created were blankets to deal with grief. And when they made those, they used the clothing from the person that their loved ones who had just passed, their clothing. They used their clothing and kind of like intertwined it with their knitting. So that way, then when you have that, that's a part of that person's clothing is with you. And if you know about the clothing, sometimes the smell, the feel, it reminds you of that person. So when I was learning about all that, and with the joy, a young like a new baby is born and everything, so encompassing maybe their initial on it, or some or a favorite color of their parents' favorite color and everything. So just encompassing some of that and making those, that is absolutely awesome. Thank you. I am planning on I also like the idea of putting the pattern in the description, but what I'm currently working on is a guidebook that I will share, that it's downloadable for you guys, and it will have all the various different patterns, but also an abbreviation cheat sheet. Because what I find sometimes that when you're reading patterns, there's some new abbreviations. Like I know the K2TOG is knit two together, or CBF, cable, uh, CF2 or something, C2F or something like that. So forward cable with the two stitches and things like that. So sometimes it's really hard to remember what some of those abbreviations are. So I will definitely add those in. So definitely expect that within the next month or two for sure. I'm just a little behind on all my to do, but I'm definitely going to work on that. But I have so many ideas, and I am so glad that you're enjoying that for sure. And I like that idea. I think I'm going to. You're welcome. And I think I am going to add another playlist of how you could use emotions to create certain. That is a great idea, Susan. I love that you mentioned that. And thank you, Laverne. So now I'm going to add those guidebooks as well. So this is going to be great. So those are two things that I'm going to add that will make a big difference, because to me, knitting is not just about, it is definitely for you and a way for you to be more comfortable and relaxed, as well as to bring out positive vibes. But it is also a way to give back to the community, but a way to give back to the world. So I want to bring that aspect into my channel and see how it can encompass that. And I'm definitely going to put a lot of like, did you know about the history? Because I think that learning a little bit about that is it definitely shows you where we were and where we are today. And there's a big difference now. And it has a lot to do with the political realm, the social realm, as well as the different movements that come along the way. One being the feminine era, and women expressing their assertiveness and expressing the fact that they should have the rights to work and so forth. So that has a big impact on things as well. And it's also a way of expressing your own opinions, your own ideas, as well as what you believe in strongly. So I find that creativity doesn't have to end by certain things. You could encompass it into so many other ways, and just use your imagination to bring that about. Because when I've gone to museums and everything, I've seen how people have used plastic bottles and created art out of that. There was one, I think it was, oh, I can't remember where. I want to say Pennsylvania, but there was a museum. There was a museum where it was the whole. It was a house. It was somebody's house at one point, and it was covered with all plastic bottles, glass bottles, cans, everything that you would think would go into a recycling bin, but made it into an art. So just using your imagination to go in different ways is absolutely amazing. So knitting is exactly the same way. The fact that about like the emotional support chicken, or the fact that the bereavement blanket. So you could use it in so many different ways. So definitely something I want to look more into and learn more as well. And hope that I can be able to express it for you guys as well. Let me see, where was I here? Getting back into it sometimes is difficult. And as you lose your stitches, you just remember to stay calm and pick them back up. It's no big deal. And that's the one thing that happens, like once you get comfortable with knitting, if you make a mistake and stuff like that, you don't worry about it. You figure out a way to bring it back. Like if you lost a stitch, you just take a crochet hook and weave it through to bring it back up to your current row that you're working on. And if you've by mistake added an extra stitch or removed an extra stitch, what you do is if you've added an extra stitch in the middle of your knitting, you basically knit two together to decrease it back down to what it was supposed to be, the number of stitches it's supposed to be. But if you've decreased a stitch, again, you want to make it in the middle so it's not very apparent on either side, and just increase a stitch. And that's a perfect way of solving that particular problem that you encounter, for sure. So I'm going to keep knitting this to see how far up I can go. And hopefully this size ducky works. I think it should. Because what I'm going to do is, after a certain point, this is going to stop. And then little bit of hair is going to keep going up, because that's going to be the head. And then I'm going to fold it up and sew it together on one end and see how that looks. And then maybe glue a particular, like a black eye or maybe a red tongue, and see if that works out really well. I'll have fun with it. That's the point of knitting. It's to have fun and see how things go. For sure. But I'm so glad you guys had the time to join me. I know it's summertime, and with the beautiful weather and nighttime hitting a lot later, it's a lot more difficult, and you want to enjoy outdoor time as much as possible at the same time. And with summer, there's always something happening or another on the weekends, for sure. especially in the community and in the town. So it's definitely one of those times. So definitely thank you to all that were able to join me today. And I would love your feedback to see how we could make the next session a lot better. But I love your positive feedback and your ideas for sure. And I'm planning on making sure that these happen on a monthly basis. And it's a perfect opportunity for asking me any questions. And if I don't have the answer, I will definitely find it and get back to you for sure. I try to respond as best I can. And if you have any ideas for certain projects that you want to see or certain patterns you want to see, definitely give me your feedback, and I will make sure that I give those put those out there as well. Right now, I have a few things I'm working on, so they will definitely be coming out soon, for sure. And it'll be fun, I hope. But I'm enjoying it because I'm learning so much more about the knitting and the knitting history, how knitting is impacted by culture, by religion, by politics, but also how it has a big influence within the community. And then knitting the different projects. Like, it doesn't just have to be hats, scarves, sweaters, and that are most commonly, yes, those are good, but it could be fun projects as well. So incorporating some fun stuff with the basics, and even the basics, like even hats, you could make them more fun. Sweaters, you could make them more fun. So and with the sweaters, what I love is that you could have different necklines. You could have a round neckline, you could have a V neckline, you could have a turtleneck, you could have a sweater that's open from the front, or you could have one that's totally closed from the front. So there's so many different ideas. That's the best thing about all of these things, because you could just put in so many different ways. You could have sweaters that look like a bear, or that look like a bunny or a cat. Even with hats, you could have hats that look like a particular animal, or that look like a particular fruit. Like I've seen strawberry hats a lot too. So those are fun. You could make a particular outfit, like the sweater, the hat, the mittens, that go perfectly with the Halloween. So like the orange and black outfit, or you could or a Christmassy theme. Make a Grinch outfit, so all green. So that kind of stuff. So just having fun with it as well it keeps you going, and it gives you great ideas. See, now with all of this, I'm thinking of new projects that I could start working on, and I already have 6 going on. So that's what happens with this. And but that's what makes it also exciting and fun. And as long as it brings in that positive vibe and that positivity and that happiness, definitely keep doing it. For sure. So I still have a little more to go on my end, because I think we need a bigger ducky than this. I know. I enjoyed it too, and getting to know everyone. Definitely planning on doing this more often, and starting to get this going. So I will definitely bring that more in. I enjoyed it as well. I had a lot of fun. So thank you for everyone for joining me and chatting with me, communicating with me, and sharing your ideas. So I am gonna do this next time. Now, please do let me know if this time works, or if you want to do Friday. I know that some suggested Friday morning as well. Would be best for Friday afternoon. So do let me know what time works best for you, and then next month we'll change the time, and then we'll keep changing time till it works for everyone. What time works best for everyone, and then adjust accordingly, for sure. Definitely. I know this was my first time. So I'm like, okay, how do I get this? And it wasn't starting. I'm like, oh my God, I told everyone I would. So it's like trying to figure it out. And then I'm like, okay, I'll post it out there. So I am definitely going to give that to you guys. So maybe next month I'll keep it as a Saturday at 7 p.m. as well. And I'm thinking that once we have like one time scheduled, then it'll be repetitive. So that way then it's consistent on your calendar as well. So I'll definitely share that on my channel and under my posts for sure. And I'll repeat it a few times on certain videos. So that way then you guys know for sure on when I'll have that those live sessions for sure. But I want to thank you all for joining, and I will definitely stay in touch with you guys through chatting on my channel. And I will see you guys all very soon. You all have a wonderful weekend. And I will chat again next month. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It was wonderful to meet you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.